And welcome everybody to Tabletop Anthologies. I forgot to unmute my mic and the desktop audio, but here we are. I am Alpha Wolf Zero. Things may look a little bit different here, but we're back to playing Call of Cthulhu, and this will be my first time being Keeper, and yeah, so this will be interesting. And of course, you see the lovely face of Severian and Preacher here with us, and you recognize Severian as being the former keeper that has guided us through Cthulhu mythos. Yeah, so I hope to live up to his expectations. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we've got Severian playing Rupert Davies and Preacher playing Ulrich Heinrich. We'll get into their characters here in just a little bit. Awesome. We got a new sub. Thanks for all the subs, Kita. And also, Kita is going to be joining us, but she is not going to join us tonight. She will be joining us on the next episode. So come back for more and see Kita in action. And then, so thank you. And thank you, Dionysus, for the subscription from you. Yeah, so I'm just stumbling over my words right now, but yeah, so I do want to give another disclaimer though. There is some elements in this, some thematic elements to this game that may be very sensitive to viewers. So if you are sensitive to those topics, we're not going to just let us know. We'll try and skip through it, hand wave it, but for us personally, we don't want anything to be uncomfortable for us. We don't want it to be uncomfortable for you. So we're going to try to do our best to work around that and keep it as simple as we can, but still tell the story that's at hand. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get started talking about Call of Cthulhu Berlin. So, in the aftermath of the Great War, Berlin has a reputation for licentiousness, a place where anything may be had for the right price. It is both a city of hedonism and a city of business. And its streets overflow with disabled veterans, prostitutes, destitute immigrants, and political agitators, all rubbing shoulders with buttoned-down businessmen, scholars, and artists. The gutters run with the blood of political assassinations where communists and Volkish nationalists clash with each other as well as with the police. Long into the evenings, Berlin's world-famous cabarets offer music that you might be hearing right now, dance, and titillating entertainment in stark contrast to the gray buildings that run on for endless miles along the sprawling city's byways. Sorry, I just read what Judge said in the chat. But without further ado, let's start off with Severian playing Rupert Davies. If you want to talk about your character, you can, and give us a description of who he is, just a little bit of backstory.
Sure. So I'll give a little bit of a teaser. Rupert Davies was born in Hollywood to a family of performers and actors. He was raised into acting as a teenager. After failing to make money as an actor, he learned to make money from seances. He rigged to look real. So after he made a name for himself finally doing those seances, he ended up getting called out by some people that was a rather unsavory crowd. So he ended up fleeing to Berlin and just taking whatever he could carry with him.
I just now saw that. All right, try it now.
That's just my natural voice. It's just so resounding. Booming. But yeah, it's if you have the multiple NDI sources going, you just got to mute those.
I forget about those all the time.
Am I good to go now?
Yeah, sorry, I just now saw that. I forgot about those NDI sources.
That's all right. Everyone does the first time.
Yeah.
Everyone gets one. So yeah, as I was saying, Rupert Davies, he fled after being called out, and now he's in Berlin. Been here for a few years, and he's starting to work on paranormal films now. And he's also been able to convince some of the monarchy to trust him as a spiritual advisor, picking up his business doing seances again here in Berlin.
All right, awesome. Yeah. And now we'll go on to Preacher, who is playing Ulrich Heinrich, and we are going to butcher some names here, so but just stick with us.
Yes, Ulrich, he moved to Berlin, Germany. His family moved 3 years before he was born. Being Presbyterian missionaries, my family instilled a love of study and reading in me at a very young age. I now own a vintage and rare bookstore in Berlin called The Spine, where all manner of patrons, wealthy or otherwise, search for the next antique item. Ulrich's character, he's probably about 5'11", 6 foot-ish, solid white beard, lanky, almost like a bird-like appearance with his kind of a big nose. Although he has a love for religious theology and writings, he himself is an atheist. He believes in continual learning and changing the true meaning of life. If you notice him, he kind of seems almost seemingly lost in thought all the time. He will unknowingly hum certain hymns, unbeknownst to him. He doesn't even notice that he does it. But he's about 57 years old. He's an older gentleman, and he loves books and loves lore and loves to study the past, present, and future.
Awesome. So, now that we've met our players so far, why don't we start with a luck roll? I need both of you to give me a luck roll, please.
Interesting, okay. I don't
No.
have very good luck.
Yeah, me neither.
I was so close.
Where is my luck roll?
Should be at the top. At the top of your... Oh. Did I not enter in?
I don't have one.
My bad.
Oh, it's luck's on the left. Unless you...
Yeah, I see it. Like, I have a luck roll, but I don't have...
Hang on. 1 second.
Yeah.
That was an oversight on my part. Yeah. That's not good.
Hold on, let me look at my...
So many stats and skills to remember.
I know. Can you tell me what your number of luck is?
I can look it up real quick. Hang on. Give me just a second. Just so much stuff.
Looks like it might be cutting off just the very bottom of the rolls in your stream overlay.
Alright, give me just a second. I can do this real quick.
Or do you scroll down? One of the other.
20 keeper.
Okay.
Oh man, we have such bad luck.
Yeah.
I went ahead and put it in.
Yeah, you should be able to roll that down.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy, I hit that right on the fucking head. I swear to God I did. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
Alright. And... hang on just a second. Let me fix these rolls real quick.
Having a jazz intermission.
Yeah, we'll have a jazz intermission real quick while
I really love the, like I even said it in chat, like I really love the vibe of this game already. Like I like the whole like jazz with the black and white and the overlay. It looks all really cool.
There we go. That looks a little bit better. Sorry guys, I thought that I had it spot on earlier. Alright, there we go. Lock that bad boy in. Alright, here we go. So also, I'm looking at your character sheets. I need Seb's character, Rupert Davies. I need Rupert to give me a power roll.
Power, alright. Another one that's only a few off.
Now, don't forget, you guys can, well, I don't think you can use it on the power roll on this one. Well, no, you can if you want to. You can use your luck on that power roll if you'd like.
No, I have such low luck. I'll pass for now.
All right. I lost my place now that I switched screens here. Sorry, guys. I'm working with one screen. One screen. Oh, my goodness. Why did I lose that screen? Give me just a second, guys. Enjoy that jazzy type music there. Oh, that's it. Okay. Okay. So, it is now that we have all that taken care of, all right. Okay, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of panicking right now. Give me just a second.
No problem. You need help getting something fixed?
No, I just lost my place in this, rule book. Okay. And that was a bad thing to happen. Okay. So, here we go. So, it's the morning of June 21st, and our investigators are waking up, doing whatever it is that they normally do. And let's say it's about early afternoon, probably about 11 a.m. or so. And they're starting to get together, and they're starting to walk down. Well, Seb's character and his boss are walking through Berlin here in the Cthulhu district. And Sev, is there anything that you and Fraulein Schoen would be talking about on your way to this cafe that you're meeting up with one of your associates with?
I guess I would just be asking questions about, any preliminary questions about this person that we're doing the seance for.
So, she looks at you. Huh?
Is that still happening?
That is, but it's 11 a.m. and you're on your way to go meet up with Ulrich to talk about the events that's going to be going on. So you ask her about the seance that's going to be going on later that evening. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're talking. She looks at you and she goes, "Well," she's like, "we just need to make sure that we have everything prepared and set up before the meeting even starts tonight, and getting Ulrich on board would be quite useful in proving and fooling this prince into thinking that we are who we say we are." And
do you think he'll be able to fund the studio?
If he's a prince, he should have plenty of money to spare. I mean, the monarchist types, they throw money at everything. And she's like, she just kind of like, kind of laughs and points over, because as you guys are walking by the Zutanical Gardens there in the Kudam district. And she's like, see, probably some monarchists put that together. They'll throw anything, trees, bushes, whatever it is. But we need them to believe in us. We need them to believe in what we're doing and that we're going to shed light on a good cause. Do you think that you can convince him do you think you can convince Ulrich to help us in this endeavor?
Of course, but I think I'll need some private time in the room before we begin the seance to attune with the spirits.
Yes. Yeah, that will definitely happen, and we'll get our crew in there and get them to have everything set up, lights, fog, mirrors, everything that we need to, portray a real seance. And she goes like this to kind of give you the spooky vibe. So yeah, you're walking down the street. Is there anything else you want to say to her or do?
Not really. Nothing else at the moment.
Okay. as you're walking down the street, from the other direction, is coming up this older gentleman, probably just closed down his bookstore for his lunch break, and he's going down to this cafe to meet up with you and Fraulein Schoen, and we see Ulrich walking down the street. What is Ulrich doing and thinking in this moment on the way to go to this meeting with Fraulein Schoen and Rupert Davies?
So you would see Ulrich. As he steps out of the doorway of his own bookstore, he gently pulls out a small key. He locks the front door. He has a book under his arm. Unbeknownst to you, it looks like some sort of an old book. And as he locks it, he's thinking to himself that he's going to be visiting an old friend. He's excited to go to this cafe and have dinner and probably some sort of a nice glass of wine with someone that he esteems and he has talked to several times. Although he doesn't know the other person, there's a second person in tow. He's looking forward to a lovely evening with his friend Fraulein for sure.
Okay. And as you both are coming from different directions, meeting up, and if you all can see here, I'm sorry, audience, you can't see this map right now, but I'm gonna ping exactly where you guys are at. That's where you guys are gonna be meeting up at, right here. The green there is the Zootannical Gardens, and the little orange triangle is your cafe that you're meeting up at. Just to give you a sense of where you're at in Berlin at this moment. And as you guys are walking from different directions, you guys start to hear some newsboys standing up on milk crates and wooden crates, and what they're doing is they're yelling out, "Come on, come on over, get your morning paper here." She's like, they're like, "Carl Grossman found dead in his cell. You don't want to miss it. Carl Grossman found dead in his cell. That's right, folks. Come on down and get your paper." And you
would see Ulrich would actually put his book back into his vest coat, inside of his coat pocket. It has a fairly large pocket that could hold, say, a book or maybe a 38 snub nose. And he walks up and he gives the pence required to get the paper.
Okay. So let's do this. What does Rupert do? Does he do anything with this, or?
What was the name that you gave?
Carl Grossman.
Would we know who that is?
Okay, give me a history check, Seth.
Okay.
And also, I would probably be trying to get to the cafe before Fraulein and her compatriot. So I would be there before them, essentially.
Okay. So you don't recognize the name off the top of your head, but you've only been in Berlin a couple of years. Fraulein Schoen, if you mention anything about that name, you're like, "Who is this?" She will tell you, "Oh, I think that's that serial killer that was going around murdering women throughout Berlin a few years back."
Can I history check in a separate regard to see if I remember anything about Carl Grossman?
Yeah, you can go ahead and give me a history check as well.
Nope, I don't know shit neither.
What about Rupert? What does Rupert say in response to what Fraulein Schoen has told you?
I think I would end up grabbing one of the newspapers, just because of Rupert's interest in the macabre.
Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this, and on the stream, I am going to actually insert this on the stream real quick so our viewers can see it. But yeah, can you all see that handout?
Yeah, I can see it.
It gave me like a whole page of handouts. I see the telegram right now. I'm not clicking the other ones just in case I shouldn't.
Yeah, just that top one there is the one that
Yeah,
I'm talking
don't
about.
pay attention to the other 5. We just need to look
bad.
at one.
I didn't realize that it would do that. I thought it was going to show them individually. Okay, but yeah. So that top one there is what you all see, with the headline: Carl Grossman found dead in his cell. Does anyone want to try and read that, or do you want me to read it? It's all good if you.
You want to read it because I'm not sure I'm looking at the right thing.
Yeah, same. I'm looking at a telegram.
Oh,
not a newspaper article.
I can see it on the stream though.
Okay. Here.
Yeah, there we go.
Let me show it to you guys now. Can you all see that?
Yeah,
now?
yeah, I can see that for sure.
Okay. Well,
Ballard says the paper boy is going to lose his job.
All right. So basically, what it says is Carl Grossman found dead in his cell, and it says, "Who among our readers will not shudder at the memory of the infamous and outrageous acts of the beast of the Silesian station, Carl Grossman, arrested 10 months ago and is fat at Langstrasse 8889. The fiend was found with the body of a murdered woman, a destitute thing, lured into the spider's lair with promises of cash and food. Instead, she met her death, but not before her screams and thrashing attracted the notice of the building's neighbors. Police found the poor creature in Grossman's kitchen, stripped naked and trussed up like a hog for butchering. Indeed, Inspector Krieg of the criminal police noted extensive apparatuses for meat processing and sausage making in Grossman's apartment. The Devil Carl claimed that this was merely owing to his career as a butcher, but persistent rumors claim otherwise. His neighbors recall that during the starving days of 1917 to 18, Grossman seemed to do quite well for himself, selling homemade sausages at the Silesian station. At the time, there was so much speculation as to where he procured the meat, but nowadays most shuddered at the contemplation. Inspector Craig found evidence in the form of bloodstains sufficient for courts to charge Grossman with 2 other lust murders and the perverted criminal who spent 14 years in jail prior to the war on charges of illicit activities went on trial 4 days ago. Today, the judge was expected to announce a guilty verdict in the matter of 3 murders committed at Grossman's hands. But he was found hanging from his bedsheet inside the jail cell this very morning.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's rather grim.
Yeah.
Fraulein, perhaps we could investigate the apartment of this serial killer at some point. It'd be rather salacious.
She looks at you and she says, "Now that's an idea. There might be something that we can find, footage. Maybe even Ulrich can find something of Grossman's that nobody else was able to find. I mean, he is a bookkeeper after all, and he has a attention for detail."
Isn't this Ulrich right here?
Yeah. So you see Ulrich coming across the street or walking into the cafe at this moment. And she hollers out, "Ulrich, we're here!" And so you're walking into the cafe, and they're coming up along the road there.
Fraulein Sean, if my eyes do not deceive me, you look younger and younger every year. And he holds the door open for her as you walk into the cafe.
She says, "Oh, stop it! You know this city is making everyone older and older by the day. Not to mention the year."
We don't pay attention to that. If there's anything I know for certain, it is that antiques are the most beautiful of all. Please, come in and have a glass of wine.
She says, "Well, thank you." And then she she says, "But Ulrich, this is Rupert Davies, the actor I told you about, that is going to be helping us with our current research in films."
And he would kind of do a polite kind of just a bow. "Ah, Mr. Davies, I'm glad to meet your acquaintance. I know we've worked together several times in several esteemed films, but I'm excited to know more about you personally."
Likewise, Mr. Heinrich. It's great to see you again.
For certain, for certain. Please, can I interest you in a vintage? And as we walk through the door.
Okay.
Yes, that sounds wonderful.
So you all walk into the cafe, and the cafe is called Romanicious Cafe, and it's actually really busy, surprisingly for this time of day. There's so many cafes in the city, but this one just particularly seems to be a little bit overcrowded today. It's just a Wednesday, yeah, it's pretty overcrowded, and one of the waitress comes up to you and says, "Oh, a table for 3?"
Yes, my name is Ulrich Heinrich. I made a reservation for earlier today, approximately this time. It doesn't matter if we wait maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but I did make a reservation.
And the name?
Heinrich, Heinrich.
Okay. So she looks at her paper and she goes, "Oh, yep, I see it right here. Please follow me." And she grabs three menus and leads you all to a table that's kind of in the middle of this cafe, that is facing the kitchen area. And she says, "Here you are. What can I start you guys off with? Any tea or coffee?"
I would like a glass of maybe an 1856, if you don't mind. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a Cabernet Sauvignon or if it's a red wine. What do you prefer, Mr. Rupert?
Oh, I'll have whatever you would like, and I'd also like an espresso.
Very well. And for you, Fraulein Schoen? And she says, "I'll take a glass as well, and I'll have a tea, please." And she says, "Very well." And so she goes off and she goes to get the order for you all, unless if you all stop her and say anything else.
No, as I take my hat off and I say, "Forgive me, I do enjoy my bitters when it comes to grapes." It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Rupert. Fraulein, it's always a pleasure. What might I do for you in regards to this meeting? I thank you for the time, for sure. I do love pleasant company.
Well, Fraulein, would you like to take the lead?
She says, "Okay, Ulrich, the reason why we asked you here is we had a client approach us recently. A very important and potentially powerful client. And we believe that he's going to be asking us to do some investigating. And during this investigation, we feel like we need someone to validate our claims. And any text or ancient scripts that we may find, we feel that you are best suited for the job, as it were. You're the most knowledgeable bookkeeper in the city by far, and we would really like you to join us in this endeavor."
Oh, please, my cheeks redden and ruddy at the very thought, and the wine hasn't even came yet. I think I might be able to help you. What in regards are we particularly studying for? I do have a myriad of books after all.
So she kind of looks to you, Rupert, and sees if you have anything to say at this point.
Well, we are to perform a seance.
A seance?
Yes.
Of what matter?
Well, we will be contacting the spirits, according to Prince Gabriel. I don't know, are we still meeting him here, Fraulein?
We're not meeting him here, we're meeting him later this evening.
I see.
Actually, next door, in the very next building.
Yes, so I will be setting up the area for the seance today, and we will perform that tonight. And if you maybe have any texts in your bookshop that could lend a hand. I lost my collection some years ago.
Ooh, sounds interesting indeed. What type of seance, if I may ask? If it's privy to your eyes only, I understand. But what are we looking for exactly?
He wishes to see if the spirits may guide us to the location of a missing princess.
Oh, a scrying and oh, I like. Can I roll a cult to see if I have anything in my bookstore about that,
Um,
or would I already
yeah,
have
a
something?
cult would be fine. Yeah. Okay. So you know that you have some books back at your bookstore, The Spine, that relate to seances and calling of the spirits, and potentially using the spirits as a guide. So you know for sure that you have something there. It would just be a matter of going back, finding it, and retrieving that book.
Mr. Davies, you first had my curiosity, but now you have my interest. I have some things that I could probably use to help you, though it may take me a minute to find them. Um, but absolutely, I could procure you some texts and tomes from my very own bookstore, The Spine, that would help you.
That would be wonderful. And even if you had some books that just kind of looked old and esoteric, it might lend to the atmosphere, as it were.
Esoteric indeed. As soon as I say that word, I'm like, yeah, this guy's full of shit, but it's fine.
So, uh, so
So essentially, Ulrich would be like providing him the books he needs to do the stuff that he needs, because he can already pick up that this guy doesn't know anything about what he's talking about.
okay, yeah. So yeah, you guys go on talking about this. Is there anything else that you want to ask each other in regards to this?
I mean, I would ask Fraulein Schoen about this princess, if she knows any other details, or if we just kind of have to wait to hear from the prince.
She says, well, unfortunately, the prince didn't really give us much information to go off of, and I think he did that on purpose because prying eyes and everything, and listening ears. And she looks around, and if you all look around the cafe at this point, you're starting to notice some very prominent people within the city. You see some monarchists that are there. You see um, some politicians that are there having their lunch at this cafe, and even you, Rupert, would notice that there's a couple of lower known cabaret dancers and things like that having their breaks here, or having their lunch here before they go into the cabarets for the evening. So you guys would look around and see that, and then think, "Oh, yeah, you're right." Um, somebody could be listening. So that's what she kind of lets it on to believe, is that he didn't want to give away too much information, but you guys might find that out later tonight.
Very well.
Okay. And she looks at Ulrich and says, Ulrich, we're to meet him tonight at 8 o'clock sharp for a meeting. Would you mind joining us this evening? It's just at the Eden Hotel, just next door.
I could absolutely entertain the idea of a good party. I have nothing planned for the rest of the evening. Please, though, allow me to have my kibasi and kraut from this location. I will drink my Cabernet Sauvignon, and then we will go to the Spine, to where I can give Mr. Davies here all the information he needs to provide said ritual.
Okay. So, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. So as
sipping my espresso.
All right. Yeah, I was about to say, as you all are saying this and talking about this, the lady brings your espressos, your wines, your teas, but at that moment, you all hear somebody come in, and they open up the door, but it's not just one person. There's over a dozen people coming to this cafe at this busy hour, and we cut the music just a little bit here for this, and the atmosphere in this cafe changes. Everyone goes silent and just turns and looks.
And you hear Ulrich kind of like, as he looks over, he kind of mimics an old Dolly Parton, like Southern Georgia accent, and says, "Well, I do declare."
So as you say that, you look, and both of you give me a no roll, like a intelligence roll or idea roll.
You want an intelligence check?
Yeah.
Let's have a look-see.
Hard success.
Nice.
Where is that at?
Should be up at the top of your character sheet with your other stats. Like
yeah.
and stuff.
There it is.
Okay. Awesome. So you both succeed. It doesn't take much to realize who this is, because they're smartly dressed in these custom dark gray military style uniforms. Some of them have military medals on their chest. A few of them have scars from the Great War. One of the guys has an eye patch. And some others have what you would see and recognize as pockmarked mustard gas scars on their faces. They're all wearing a badge that's pinned to their left sleeve that depicts a Viking longship cutting across some waves with the name Earhart on it. And both of you recognize that name and that symbol. It's hard not to recognize here in Berlin and Germany, and but you know that Earhart was Hermann Earhart, who was one of the most prominent leaders of the Cat Push in 1920. Some of the other cafe patrons recognize the men's badges and uniforms, and some of the patrons just begin to like grit their teeth and like ball up their fists on the table, and some of them are starting to say things underneath their breath and like just get really angry. You see one guy to the table to the left of you has his fork in one hand, slams it down on the table. The other one has and in his other hand he has a knife and slams it down on the table. But the man that's in the center of all dozen of these military men that are walking in, is a man that has a riding whip tucked underneath one arm. And as he walks in and everyone's making these faces, he salutes courteously to everyone around him in this cafe. And then some of the youth start singing a melody in the background, and this guy is just standing in the middle of the cafe. And the melody that they sing is "Let us be glad and cheerful," but they sing with some shocking lyrical content added in there, which predicts the return of the Kaiser and calls for violence against the Chancellor Joseph Worth and Foreign Minister Walter Rathenau. And then the song, near the end, begins to, they say something at the end that's very sickening. And it says, "Knock off Walter Rathenau, the God-forsaken Sal." And they begin to chant that over and over again. And you see these young men that's behind the one that was in. They do have German accents. I, however, am not great at German accents. Every time I try to do a German accent, it sounds like Australian or something of that nature. So I'm sorry, Dionysus. I just can't do that. But as they sing, they begin to move among the cafe patrons sitting on the terrace, and even through this cafe, powering through. They start to turn over tables, or bumping tables, sending flower vases toppling, drinks sloshing out of the cups. It's starting to become chaos in here, and some of them begin to start throwing, like look like they're getting ready to fight. They're face to face in here, and things are getting heated. And one of the men, the young men that is standing next to your table, comes over to an open gap at the table and produces a piece of chalk and begins to draw on your table. And both of you, with that no roll, realize that this is a right-facing Hakenkreuz. Hakenkreuz, which is also known as a broken cross. And for all of us watching, realize it as a swastika. Directly on your table surface. And he's just grinning and giving you this menacing stare to each one of you in turn.
Good sir, to which would you disgrace this table by spreading such an image on my Cabernet Sauvignon?
And he just looks at you and he says, we're just here to make our mark, make sure that we're known. And as he says that, both of you recall, because of that no roll, that the Munich-based National Socialist Working Party uses the swastika as its symbol. While but Sev realizes that the NSDAP's version of the swastika faces the opposite direction of the one this guy's drawing. So
he's drawing the wrong swastika, basically?
He's drawing a different swastika, yep. So that Socialist Workers' Party has the left-facing, or it has the right... has the left-facing swastika. He's drawing a right-facing swastika. So you get from that he's not associated with that, but it's something completely different, something completely new that you've not seen because of the way he's drawing that.
Well, there's quite an entrance you had there, good sir, and I think you may have that drawn backwards, perhaps.
Backwards. This is the right way. This is the way, and he speaks up and he says, "This is the way von Killinger told us." And when he says that, both of you, it clicks. This is a guy who is standing in the center of the room with that bullwhip and these medals across his chest, who saluted everyone when he came in. He said, "This is the way Killinger is leading us." Different
upon hearing all of that information, what would I, me as the collector with my specific historical knowledge, what would I be able to glean from that?
So you would be able to glean from that he formed a somewhat what we would consider a terrorist organization, I guess, that has gone very political. And from his background that he has possibly been involved in a lot of political assassinations and killings in the area. And knowing that there's some politicians in this very cafe that you're at right now, things could get very ugly very fast. what do you guys do?
Well, as much as this Cabernet Sauvignon has definitely engrossed the palate that I'm here, I feel, Fraulein and Rupert, we must leave. Immediately, if not sooner.
Yes, of course. I'm quite finished with my espresso.
And
I would start slowly kind of backing away from the table.
So as you guys are getting up from the table, that's when punches start to fly. Chaos starts to break out in this cafe. You've got people running and trying to get out of here. You got people running and trying to get out of here. Are you guys trying to get out as well with all these people? Like, people are starting to rush out that door and get out of there as this fight's breaking out.
Does it look like there's a back door or some sort of kitchen entrance
that you can see, but you can glean that there might be a back way out of this through the kitchen.
Okay. This being the cafe closest to the spine, would I have any sort of knowledge of previous visits here that there may be like a back door or maybe some sort of a way we can sneak around or move through here without being noticed despite all the commotion?
So both of you would know and realize and know that Berlin, although it has been a city of entertainment and nightlife and things of that nature, it's also been a city of turmoil. You know that these things happen all the time in various parts of the city. Fights break out in the streets. Fights break out in the stores, in the shops. So this is really nothing new to either of you. But this time, you guys are right in the thick of it. But you know that you can use the fighting as a distraction to try and get out and use the crowd as a way to get out of here safely if you wanted to.
All right, I would begin moving that way.
Okay. You going to the back or the front?
The back. Fraulein, Ulrich, we need to move this way. There should be a back door over here.
For Christ's sake, a man can't even enjoy his grapes without even having a fight around here. And he moves and would follow you for sure.
Okay. I'd say both of you give me a dexterity roll to see, or a dodge roll to see how quickly you guys can get out of there. But dexterity would work as well. Okay, so Rupert's definitely leading the group here, all three of you. He's kind of like in the front. Ulrich, you being a little bit older are probably in the back, with Fraulein in the middle. And you guys are going out the back through the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys come around and you see the door that the servers have been coming through, and you push through it, and someone gets tossed over this countertop that's connected to this kitchen area where the food is set out on the tray like a diner style. And Heinrich, you got lucky enough just to barely not get knocked over by this guy, but you're able to get back through the kitchen, and you notice that a lot of the kitchen staff has already vacated the building. So there's a bunch of them that's vacating out this back door, and you guys are, safe to say that you guys are back out in the city. And within just a matter of seconds of you all getting to this back alleyway, you hear a police whistle blow. And you can hear chaos happening on the other side of the street from where you guys are at.
Quickly, ladies and gents, follow me. I'll take you to the back door of the spine. We'll be safe there. And I jump the block over, like the next building over to the spine.
Okay, yeah. So you all head towards the spine, and you all are going there. What are you guys doing now?
So as I unlock the back door, it kind of looks like a very dreary street, but the door itself actually looks kind of nice. Ulrich would have made sure that even the front and back doors look very pleasant to anybody who would come from either entrance, because he thinks his establishment is a very nice place. So as he unlocks the door, he swings it open and he ushers in Fraulein and Rupert. And upon entering, he would come in himself, shut the door, lock it again, and you guys would notice that even in the back, what would be like the stock room or even like the area where he holds his books, everything looks eloquent, looks clean. He takes value in everything that he does, especially his own business. You would glean from this that Ulrich is actually he's very proud of everything, and he makes sure that even his own establishment is a reflection of him. And though you might see a couple dust bunnies here, there, and yonder, but the even the back room looks ornate and beautiful. And he would look at Rupert and he would say, "Quickly, let us not distract from this. Let's find those books you require of."
Of course, I can sense that this shop is practically overflowing with occult knowledge.
If we only had the time, my friend, I would show you wonders, especially this. And he would actually show he would go to like this side little, almost like a safe, and he would show his prized possession, which is actually it's a specially handwritten grimoire that's been passed down from his family. It's essentially witches' spells. And he would show, and he would be like, "Look at this! I've had this for years." And he would close it quickly and reach in and say, "And here's also a second folio of Shakespeare." But now is not the time. Now is not the time. Let's find those books for you. And he would search down the occult books needed for his seance rather quickly.
Okay. So you do that. Rupert, are you looking around, doing anything in here in particular?
I would just kind of be browsing around, looking for anything that just gives off a look of, like I said, esoteric knowledge,
Okay.
just dusty old tomes, that sort of thing, while I'm waiting for him to retrieve those books.
Okay, sounds good. Both of you, Rupert, you can give me I guess a library use or a search check of some kind. And then I need Ulrich to give me a spot hidden.
Spot hidden.
All right. Okay. So, Rupert, you're looking around. To you, it just looks like an old used bookstore, with dusty books and some cobwebs probably hanging from some of the very, very top shelves. But other than that, you're just kind of looking around, and it's like I don't know. It's just like you're blanking on what you're trying to look for and things like that, and you don't really know what to look for. Was there anything else that you wanted to try and do while you're in here, or?
No, I don't think so. I would, whenever Ulrich finally approaches me, I would grab like the thickest nearby book though and act like I'm intently studying something.
Okay.
Yes. Here are the tomes in question. I feel like you will find these to be exponentially helpful in your seance. And I would hand him some books on whatever it is that he's trying to do specifically, based on my occult knowledge of what he's trying to do. And then as he picks up that book, I'd say, "Ah, yes, Webster's Dictionary of Tomes in Latin. I did not know you learned Latin."
Yeah. Yes, of course. I just kind of shoved it off to the side while I grabbed these other books.
We shall speak of Latin and different dialects very soon, Mr. Davies. I am very intrigued to know what you know.
Yes, we will get to that one day. We have other matters to attend to now, though. What books do we have here? What have you brought me?
Oh yes, absolutely. So I've brought you the core knowledge book on seances. If you need something particular, let me know, because I will absolutely find what I have on it. I do have an especially estranged knowledge to the occult, and if I don't have a book on it, at least I can find it quickly.
Well, this is perfect. Should I expect you at the séance later? It'd be wonderful to
Absolutely,
have you there.
I would love to see this. As much as I love books, I've never seen it in action. I would gladly attend.
It will be quite a show.
I look forward to it. Fraulein, are you okay?
She just says, "Oh yes, just taking in the scenery as it was," and that's kind of all she says.
I'm glad. Can I make either of you some tea? I know that was kind of a quite a commotion, even though me and Mr. Davies here are kind of privy to such behavior. Anything to calm the nerves before we continue with said ritual?
Oh, while I appreciate the courtesy, I have work that must be done now. If you'll excuse me, I need to go and set up the area for the séance.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you need a private room here, or would you like to move to another location?
Well, I believe the prince has already picked out a location.
Ah, yes, and all the commotion, I forgot. Yes, we will move in that location, and anything you need from me in this bookstore, please be privy to do so. I offer the utmost respect and help to anything you plan to do, Mr. Davies.
How kind of you. Thank you.
All right, so Rupert, I believe you're taking your leave and going to go and try and set things up for this evening in the meeting room.
Yep, unless Fraulein Schoen has anything else for me to do, I would just go and get that all set up.
So Fraulein would be going back to the studio and getting the cameramen and photographers and all the extra equipment that you're going to need for this evening, because it's still probably around noon. So you've got about 8 hours to kind of kill before the meeting actually starts. So you're going to need about a couple hours just to get it all set up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to do, or?
Not really. I'd imagine probably just go somewhere with Fraulein Schoen and like have lunch, that sort of thing. Just regular day, other than setting up the séance.
Okay. So they take their leave from the spine here, and Ulrich, you're kind of left to yourself. And also, Ulrich, don't forget you do have a bonus die. I did see that earlier. I just forgot to say it because you guys were in the middle of role playing, so I didn't want to stop you to say that. But you do have a bonus die given to you by a judge. It says for preachers. Seb's not allowed to use it.
Yeah, fuck it. We're good.
So I did see that. So thank you, Judge, for that bonus die.
Can I get a description of the room that I'm setting up?
So the room that you're setting up, you go over to the Eden Hotel, and you go up to the front desk, and because you know that Fraulein leads the way, and she's like, "Yes, we were told that a key was left for us." And she just the man behind the counter goes, "And what was your name?" And she goes, "Schoen, Fraulein Schoen, and Rupert Davies." She's like, "I'm not sure which one he put it under." And he was like, yes. Here it is." And he like slips you a key. And when you walk into this hotel, it's a very lavish hotel, very nice, and you can actually look, like when you look across from this lobbyway, you see a restaurant in here that's called the American Bar und Grill. So it's a take on an American style restaurant inside this hotel. And then he says, "Yes, it'll be on the 4th floor. Just take a left and you'll be there in no time." And so she looks at you and she says, "Shall we?" And you'll all head over to the lift. And when you guys head into the lift and you guys go all the way up the stairs, or all the way up to the 4th floor, you get off and you start walking down the hallway, and it's like velvety red carpets are through this area, with like a nice wood overlay with like a reddish gold laced interior on the walls. And then you open up the door to go in, and this room is huge. It's massive. It's like a penthouse suite. And you see like a fireplace along the wall to your right, and like a coffee table and some lavish couches and lounge seats. And then you see like a dining table, a long dining table there with some very nice ornate hand-carved wooden seats, things of that nature. You could tell that this place is very expensive.
Right. Do we know if this is all on the Prince's tab, basically?
Yes. This is in the Prince's name. You can see that there's other rooms combined to this room. The room that you're in now is what you would consider like a boardroom or a lounge room, and then the bedrooms are off to the sides.
Okay, I would definitely contact the hotel, whoever I can working there, to get the room kind of like customized, like actually have them bring extra drapes and stuff and like set up a draped off area in the middle of that lounge room with a big round table at it, just a little dimly lit area in the middle of the room for the seance, and start getting that all set up.
Okay, so you do that, and they say not a problem, we'll get someone up there. And you see a couple big burly guys, they come in and they take out those chairs and set them off to the side. They put up that long table, and they put up that big round table that you wanted with the chairs around it. They set up a huge red velvet drape with like gold trim at the bottom to go along the back side of one of these couches that's sitting here. Like it takes a couple hours for them to do all this, but it's up and ready for you. In the meantime, you look over and you see like a mini bar that you're free to sample, things like that, because it's part of the Prince's room.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely sample some of that, and then just get everything set up to run my seance.
Okay.
Other than that, enjoy the evening until everyone begins showing up.
Okay. Do you do anything personally, because you did say you wanted some alone time to prep for this?
Yes. Do you want me to give away all my tricks now, or
no? I just was making sure that you had something in mind there.
I do.
Okay. All right. So you do that, and Fraulein looks at you and she goes, "Okay, well, I called the studio, sorry, I didn't come up with a name earlier, but we'll call them Manny and Antonio are on their way, and they'll be helping you with tonight's production. I'll be here. Ulrich's going to be here. I think it's going to be a great night."
I agree.
So she's busy trying to. Once they get there, she's busy ordering them to set things up here, there, and everywhere. Meanwhile, back at the Spine, Ulrich.
First off, check your Discord messages, specifically. So I would be brewing a bit of tea for myself, some Earl Grey, and I would be making some preparations for myself. I'd be pulling kind of some different information on seances, some things, and then I would be trying to see what I could figure out about the Von Killinger, anything that I would have recollected about that. Also, that right-facing broken cross or swastika, be kind of like looking at that information as well, trying to refresh myself on that. Okay. And then anything about the Carl Grossman as well. And once I got all that done, I'd do some like brief reading, nothing stupid in depth, but I would just kind of be like, oh, I haven't looked at this in a long time, and then I would make my way over to the hotel to be there for the seance beforehand.
Okay, so before we conclude all that, let me ask you a quick question. Would you say that because of how your character is a bookkeeper, you like delving into the history and the knowledge and knowing certain things, would you say that your character has a affinity for potentially looking into conspiracies or secret organizations, things of that nature?
Yeah, so part of his love for history actually stemmed in his adolescence. Growing up in Germany, he would have actually been looking into history of German conspiracies and the like, and he would have actually found some sort of an affinity for secret societies, cults, things like that, which is why he knows so much about the occult, is because history on the surface is cool, but history that nobody knows about is really kind of his bread and butter, and like that's what he loves, is understanding things that were hidden from the light.
Okay, so based on that knowledge, um, and based on your role earlier for your spot hidden, since you succeeded, something that you realize has gone missing from your shop, and during the time that you were away, you know for a fact that the door was locked, that you had the back door locked, you had the front door locked. Nobody else could have gotten in unless if they had a key or some other means of getting in. You look around and none of the glass is broke in the windows or anything like that. You don't see any books that have fallen off shelves or have been moved precariously, but the one thing that you do know is that on your personal desk you had started researching something, and what you were researching had alluded to an order of owls and a red eagle. And these were the two things that you had simultaneously been studying over the course of the last year or two, and trying to keep tabs on. And your documents on these things have gone missing.
So as I'm hunting around, I kind of look for various things, and once I decide that I've given them all the knowledge of the seances and all that stuff, I would go back to my personal desk and look around, and I could have swore maybe I put it away in my drawer, and I would look through my drawers and desks. Um, where's my information on Red Eagles? Ah, ah, I must have misplaced it. There's no way. Nobody got in here. And I would kind of just I would kind of be troubled, but I wouldn't let it get to me just yet. But I would still be thinking on the topic.
Okay. Okay, so I would say, over the course of the next few hours, as you're racking your brain over what happened with that, and as you're researching into these other things, how quickly would you say that you go back into researching those other things that you were wanting to research, like Killinger and Grossman and things of that nature?
I would have like pretty much just studied the recent newspaper clippings for the like the last probably maybe 3 to 6 months, and then once I got kind of the highlights or maybe some minor intricacies, I would go back to trying to pull the books on the seance, anything that might help, and then really contemplating my Order of Owls research.
Okay. So going back through the newspaper clippings over the last 6 months, you realize that Killinger, von Killinger, his full name is Manfred Frere von Killinger. And the reason why this stands out is, yes, he was in the Great War as a military leader, but after the Great War, a few years ago, you know that he has been in leagues with a ruffian type gang or group of Vemi. Vemi, I think is how you pronounce it. Vemi, vigilante courts, vigilante criminals. They go around saying that they arrest traitors and November criminals, and they process these illegal underground proceedings where they give these traitors death sentences outside of the court system, outside of the justice system. And you would know that not just based on the newspaper articles, but also because of the part of town that you're from. You have heard of this happening. And you know that he has a very staunch standpoint on his political views, and obviously of that of Walter Rathenau, the Minister of Finance here in Germany. You know that he's wanting to see him overthrown and out of office. To what extent he go to, you're just not sure. And then you said that you were looking into Grossman as well, right?
Yes.
That one, because of your history here in Berlin and you've lived here your whole life, you would know a little bit more of his story as well. You know that he was in a very poor district of town, obviously from that newspaper article. Where that part of town is very poor and destitute, not unlike your own, even almost like a tenement housing area as well. And you realize that he was, even though he was in that poor part of town during the periods of starving, he was very successful as a butcher in the local area. People loved his food that he made, sausages and hamburgers, things of that nature. You know, and people would go there by droves to get this stuff. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if within Kudam itself, the whole part of town that this is in, the Kudam district, you wouldn't be surprised if probably 65% of them didn't go and try some of his products, because he was there, but it came out later on that he was very sick in the head, and that he had admitted to at least murdering 3 women, and although they couldn't prove anything, it's definitely slated like he might have potentially sold human flesh in his butcher shop. But that's part of the conspiracy that you are clinging to at this point. And the thing that doesn't add up between everything that you know and that newspaper clipping is, why would someone who's already on death row murder themselves just days or weeks before their execution? And from everything that you've read previously in these newspaper articles, you know that he was kind of proud of what he did. He enjoyed it. He was a very sick, twisted person. So this doesn't add up. If he enjoyed what he did, why would this man kill himself in his own jail cell?
Interesting.
Do you research anything else?
I would like to research anything on what was it, Armin Ardert or Ardert?
Oh, Ehrman Earhart.
Yeah, that guy.
Earhart, yeah. Ehrman Earhart. Yeah, give me just a second to pull that up. Okay, so you know that back in 1919, there's been street battles going on ever since 1919, after the Great War, mass marches, attempted revolutions, from the left side of the political spectrum in Germany, called the Spartacist Revolt. That happened in 1919, and then the right side pushed back in 1920, which was called the Cat Push March of 1920. And that the leaders of the Spartacist revolt was Karl Liebknecht and his associate Rosa Luxemburg, and both of them were assassinated in 1919 at the hands of the Free Corps militia. And they, they assassinated the left political parties, and you would gather from that information that Airman Earhart was probably one of the leaders of the Cat Push movement, that he was the leader of this Cat Push movement, and also the Free Corps militia that murdered Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg. So you would gather that information. They see him as, so you can gather from that information from earlier that the the men that came into the cafe earlier idolized this person as the leader of their revolts and the leader of their political push.
Okay, so I would read all that, and I would be like, oh, that's a study for a later date. I must be going now, and I would kind of like jot that information down, close the book that I was looking at, or close the newspaper clipping, and I would head toward the hotel for the seance.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's getting close to 8 o'clock, and let's go back to some jazzy music and set the tone for what is about to be your all's meeting time. So, Rupert, you are already there. Everything is set up. You got your lights, you got your cameras. All you need is the action, and you're good to go. Is there any last minute things that you want to address with Fraulein Schoen?
I don't think so. I would just, once it becomes around the time that people are supposed to show up, I would get in, on my mark, basically, as an actor, and be sitting there in front of all of these, all the texts that I got from Ulrich just spread out in front of me on the table, like I'm preparing for the seance.
Okay. So you're sitting there waiting for Ulrich to come in. We're waiting for Ulrich to come in, and as you're sitting there, there is a taller gentleman that comes in. Lost my place again. I was somewhere else.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, there's a tall man that comes in, kind of lanky, but also a little bit muscular, and he looks very sour-faced. He comes in, and you don't recognize him, and he says something in Russian to you. Do you speak Russian at all?
No, German and English.
Okay, that's what I thought. He says something in Russian, and when you don't say anything, he just shrugs and goes off and stands off to the side, kind of militarily, like in a stance, with his hands behind his back, straight back, looking straight ahead towards the door, just waiting for anybody else who may come in. Do you have your cameramen set up in here already, or are they in the room with you as well?
Yes. Yeah, they would probably not be rolling yet, but have their cameras set up and ready to go. That man that came in, I would ask him in both German and English to see if he responds at all. Just say, hello, who are you, basically.
And he just looks at you, and like with a very deep and deep voice, he just says, hello. And that's really all he says. It's very awkward. It's kind of like you're getting Lurch kind of vibes from this guy. He's just standing there overlooking everything, but he looks very proper. You can kind of gather from that information that he's probably the prince's butler or chauffeur, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's middle-aged too, so...
Seems like he works for royalty.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it seems like he works for royalty, and he... you can also glean that he doesn't speak much German or English.
Okay.
So, once Preacher is back... Oh, he is back. So...
I am here.
So, Preacher, you walk up and... you make the knock at the door.
I like that sound effect. It was good.
And you make the knock at the door, and Sev, your character Rupert, sees that tall, lanky, lurch-looking fellow walk up to the door and opens it slowly, and he looks at Ulrich, and he's like, hello.
Hello, sir. And I tip my hat. I'm sorry I didn't bring much gifts. All I brought was a bonus die for the GM to use, because sometimes the bad guys need help too. Also, I'm here to provide help for Rupert with his whatever he's doing. I'm told he's doing some kind of fancy stuff. So if you would be so inclined to move out of the doorway, Mr. Lurch. And hold door for anybody else. That'd be great.
And he turns and he looks at Rupert for like some form of confirmation from you on whether or not to let this person in.
Yeah, I nod at him and I say, yes, Mr. Heinrich, please come in, have a seat around the table.
And so Lurch, I'm calling him Lurch now, that's not his name.
That's his name, fuck it. That's his name now.
He looks back at you, Ulrich, and he goes, come. And then he opens up his arm to kind of give you the way in. And he says, he points to himself and he says, Fedor.
Ah, yes. Such a great name. Your mother must have loved you. Also, to anybody who's in the room, I've brought my favorite of the Christian Brothers brandy. If anybody would like to have a swig, I've brought glasses and a small bottle.
I would love a sip, and perhaps we could offer some spirits to the spirits later tonight.
Yes, we will also pour out one for the ones that can't be with us, or the ones that are already with us. And he winks, and he kind of pours a small glass, leaves it on the table for nobody to touch, and pours a glass for him and Rupert.
Okay. So you do that, and Fedor just kind of steps back, and he's standing near the bar area, and he looks at you with the brandy that you brought in, and he looks at the bar, and then he just shakes his head, and he just kind of shrugs and stands back in attention.
Oh, well, don't act like you've never had the top of the bottom shelf brandy before, Fedor. Come on. Have a drink with me.
And he doesn't move. He doesn't even, his facial expression does not change. He doesn't blink. But after a few moments of you all drinking and getting ready, the time is getting to be almost 8 o'clock precisely. And when you guys hear that, you hear some footsteps coming from one of the other rooms near you that's connected to this room. And when you hear that, then you see the door swing open, and Rupert and Fraulein Schoen would recognize this as the man known as Prince Gabriel Konstantinovich. And he looks very happy and smiling, and if you were to look around behind you or near the bar, you would see Fedor like clap his feet, like his feet come together, stands in a military salute, and he salutes this prince, and the prince just waves him off, and he just waves him off, and the prince is in full dress uniform of like a Tsarist Russian cavalry officer. And as he's walking in, he's actually buttoning up the top button on his jacket, and he looks at you all and he says, "Good evening, and I am Prince Gabriel Konstantinovic." And Fraulein looks at you and she's like, she looks at you, Rupert. She's like, "Do we start rolling? Do we start rolling?"
Yeah, I give her a little nod, some sort of sign or whatever we might have for starting the film.
She looks back at Antonio and she's like, "Start rolling, start rolling."
And I pretty much leap from my chair and in front of the prince and say, "Ah, Your Majesty, it's wonderful to have you here." And I give like a real flowery bow.
Ulrich, do you do anything?
I take a sip of the finest of my bottom shelf brandy, and I kind of give him a au revoir, and I still sit at the bar there.
All right, and so while the film crew's going, Fraulein kind of steps back, to kind of get behind the camera crew, but she bows courteously to the prince, and he says, "Thank you very much, everyone, for answering my summons." And both of you speak German, and that is the language that he is currently speaking at the moment. So he has a noticeable Russian accent, though, on top of the German words that he's saying. He says, please sit down, and he kind of pulls himself to like the head of the table, if you want to call it that, because it's a circular table, but kind of where he can see both of you on either side, and anybody else who may be sitting down, like maybe Manny, who's kind of like got like a hold on a prop somewhere, for something getting ready to be kicked off, and he just kind of says, "Now, I know why you all are wondering why I asked you here, and to be honest, I'm very pleased, Fraulein." And he kind of like nods to her, and says, "I'm very pleased that you decided to bring Ulrich Heinrich here with you. I had it in mind to bring him along as well and invite him to this meeting." And he just kind of like looks down, opens up a cigar box, and takes one out and lights it, and then he turns the cigar box around, pushes it to either one of you if you want to grab one. Do you all take it?
Yeah, sure. I don't see why I wouldn't.
Okay. And one by one, he lights your cigars for you, and he says, he kind of like leans back and takes a huge drag off of the cigar, and puffs it out, and as he exhales, he says, "Now, you all are wondering why I brought you here, yes?" Well,
yes, I'm looking forward to hearing the details, Your Majesty.
Okay, and so that's when we're going to switch things up here a little bit. Not that song, sorry. But he kind of switches things up a little bit and says, "These are such tumultuous times, as you all know. But what are we to expect when the monarchies," and he kind of like points to himself with his fingers, the cigar in his hand, "when the monarchies sanctioned by God are torn down by the unwashed hordes. What is it the poet Yeats said? Ah yes, things fall apart The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, indeed. And he takes another long drag off of his cigar. Do either of you have art with literature or poetry?
I do not. Just acting.
Okay. Do you have that, Ulrich?
Let me look.
No, it looks like you just have an art any.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
Okay. Since you are a bookkeeper, I will allow you to make a history roll. Both of you can make a history roll or a no roll, an intelligence roll, to see if you recognize what he just said. Okay, yeah, so you both definitely know what he just said, and you recall that it's the rest of a 1919 poem, and you guys, as you're sitting there, can finish that poem off in your head as he's taking that long drag off the cigar, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. And that was a poem by Yeats. Do you all say anything at this moment while he's dragging off with his cigar?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. So the prince continues after he exhales again, and he says, "Let's get to the central matter." And he kind of sits with his arms on the table, cigar in one hand, crossed over the other, kind of in a very serious business-like manner. And he says, "I have summoned you here and asked you here tonight because each of you possess special skills. Skills that may aid me and the parties that I represent in a most macabre investigation. You all are no doubt aware of the great tragedy that befell Tsar Nicholas and his family. And you both would realize this, that Tsar Nicholas and his family was murdered 4 years ago. And it was a great upheaval in the monarchy of like Russian, hold on, that's really loud, of the Russian monarchy. And he says, "May the saints bless them and keep them." And he just kind of looks down, kind of like in sadness. He says, nearly 4 years ago, in the city of Ekaterinburg, the Bolshevist slime gunned down the royal family. I have personally visited this site and confirmed that the royal family was there. I have seen the bullet holes. I took photographs. Here." And he reaches over into what you assume is like a small little briefcase that he had brought in with him. And he sat down, and he opens it up, and he slides 2 pictures across to both of you to see. And if you guys want to, it is, I'll tell you the name of it. It is photograph evidence underneath the handouts.
I cannot see them.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
Yeah, if you didn't change permissions, we can't see them. Like if you click the show players, that doesn't change permissions permanently.
Okay, I just showed it to players. So.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
And for our viewers at home, I will show them as well. So these images slide across the desk to you all.
I see. And what are we looking at here, Your Majesty?
So he says, "There," and he points to the one with the journal. He says, "This is the Tsarina's journal. it was wedged into a crack in one of the walls in her room, or in this room. You see the mark upon the wall, and the symbol upon the journal is the same. The swastika, her good luck symbol. He notes grimly. He says it kind of grimly to you, and you notice that there's the swastika, but you notice that it's left facing. It's not right facing. So, playing upon the events that happened earlier in the day, you would know that this family was part of that other party or organization, and she and the daughter had thought this to be a good luck symbol. And for you, Ulrich, give me a no roll, please. And you as well, Rupert.
Let me see if I can. Let's see.
Okay. So you both got. So you got a hard success and a regular success. Ulrich, you would know. I'm sorry. You would know. Well, both of you would know this. The swastika's name derived from the Sanskrit for good fortune. This symbol is at least 10,000 years old and is represented in cultures across the globe, from Europe to Asia and even in the New World. However, Ulrich, you would also know that this symbol usually stands for well-being, fertility, fire, and the sun. And you would remember and recall that the Norse had actually considered this symbol Thor's hammer. So that's what you recall about everything from your studies today and these symbols that leading to these different parties. Then you see the prince look across the table, or from a different part of the room, and he looks at one of the same local newspaper that you all picked up this morning, but this time it's in Russian. And you can see the hateful face of Carl Grossman staring out from the front page of that photograph. And then the prince sighs and kind of gives you all a minute to kind of digest this information. Is there anything that you guys want to do or say in this moment?
I understand what the other picture means, but what is the one to the right? What does that mean?
He said that was the bullet holes that was shot when the royal family was killed. It looked as though whoever killed them in front of their good luck symbol, their good fortune symbol. It's very odd, very strange. Don't you think?
And this journal that you found, was there anything interesting within?
He says, nothing that I could really see. There was nothing indicating a potential threat or anything of that nature. But we all know that monarchists and those of the monarchy are always under constant threat. Their lives are always in danger. My life is in danger. That's why I have Fedor over here. And he looks over at Fedor, and Fedor's like, you can see the first time he smiles. And, but yeah, so that's what he says in response.
I see bottom shelf brandy won't make you smile.
And he looks to Ulrich and he smiles and he gives a little laugh. And he says, my friend, royalty do not drink from the bottom shelf. And
you didn't know it was bottom shelf before I poured it, Mr. Big Man.
And he just kind of like leans back and just kind of has a chuckle about all this. He says, but seriously, let's continue. And he says, he points to the newspaper with Carl Grossman's face on it. And he says, the papers have reported that this Grossman recorded names of women, possibly his victims, in his journal. One such name was Sosnovsky. This name likely means nothing to either of you, but it means a great deal to me and the other interested parties that, like I have said, I represent here. We believe that it may represent or refer to a Polish girl, a Polish peasant girl calling herself, excuse me, I got a burp, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. He says, we believe that it may pertain to a Polish peasant girl calling herself Franziska Sosnovsky, or Sosnovska, or something similar. The date in Grossman's journal is from over 2 years ago. Too much time may have passed to gain a real answer, yet I must try, I must know. So I ask you, with this murderer now dead in his cell, and the answer to our question of, is the princess still alive? I ask you, will you help me, to the best of your abilities, learn whether or not Carl Grossman did indeed murder Franziska Sosnovsky in February of 1920?
I will certainly try my hardest for you, Your Majesty. Are you saying that her body was not recovered with the other family members that were gunned down?
No, that is the mystery that's at hand. Apparently, her body was not recovered, but the parents' bodies were, and thus what leads us to believe that we potentially have a princess that's still rightfully in control. And he looks and he kind of, kind of straightens his suit out, and he says, I will offer to pay you all at the rate of £3 sterling. And this is what he says, but you all would know this as equivalent to $15 a day in American money.
It's quite a bit
during this time. That's quite a lot. It's quite a lot for just a simple investigation on whether or not this woman's alive. And he also will gladly pay expenses. And he looks at Frau Lindschon and he says, and Frau Lindschon, I will make sure that this venture that you are on, and he points to the camera crews, and he points to you, is well compensated. And you see a glint of excitement. Her eyes get really big, and she looks at you, Rupert, and she's like, this is it. And she just says, like, she mumbles, this is it.
Well, Your Majesty, you came to the right occultist. Along with the assistance of Mr. Heinrich here, we will certainly locate the remains of the princess.
And he looks to Heinrich, and he says, do not forget that I have not thought about you, Heinrich, as well. I will not only pay you the £3 sterling per day, but I assume that during the time that you'll be investigating, your shop will be closed, yes?
I do have an assistant, but for the most part, yes, it will be closed.
If it is going to be closed, or not, if you choose to bring in your assistant, I will not only pay you $15 a day. I'm just going to say that because that's what we know. I will not only pay you $15 a day on joining this investigation, but I will also bring in, let's say, I will pay for your assistant's salary during the time that you take on this investigation, and I will also put in a little something extra to sprucing up the place. He says, kind of pointing around to the decorations in his room, kind of hinting at the fact that he would be willing to pay for any repairs or modifications you may want to make to the spine.
Ulrich, thinking upon the spine, realizes that it's in good shape, and says, "For sure, we do need repairs. I will gladly join this expedition with the terms completed." And he will down his brandy.
And he stands up and he comes around and he grabs that other glass of brandy that you had poured out for Fedor or somebody else, and he lifts it up and he says, "To partnership and business." And he kind of like tings your empty glass, or if you have another glass at hand, he tings that and he downs it. And he kind of gives this like surprising look. And he's like, "Well, maybe the bottom shelf isn't so bad after all." And he slides the empty glass back over to you. And he says, "Now, I believe, Rupert, one of the main reasons why you are here tonight, contact the spirits to see if they can guide us to where the princess is. Whether she be still with us or among the spirits themselves." And he kind of like opens the floor to you.
Yes, of course, I will guide us among this spiritual adventure tonight. Please, be seated and join hands.
Okay. And you even see the prince looks over at Fedor, and he's like, "Come, sit." And Fedor's like, and he's like, he just points at the seat. And so Fedor kind of like looks down, and he like comes around and he pulls up a seat next to one of you, and they all lay out their hands and are getting ready for this. And you see Frolin kind of goes over to one of the light switches and kind of dims the lights down a little bit, or cuts some of them out and just lets the candles light the way. So what as Fedor sits down, I grab his hand, and I also grab Rupert's hand, and I look over at Fedor and I say, "All you need say, in nomine et Filii et Spiritus Sancti." And I tell him to repeat that as we do the seance. He looks at you and he tries to say something of that nature, and it sounds like a baby trying to pronounce, like a baby that knows English trying to pronounce Russian. Like, that's what it sounds like. And Ulrich would chuckle and say, "Good enough." And so the scene is set, and I'm gonna let you, Rupert, take it over, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Do we want to just pick up with this at the very beginning of the next session?
We very well could. Yeah, actually, that would be a good stopping point right there. Yeah, let's do that. So, let's spicing up the mood a little bit. I didn't realize it was 10 o'clock already, but hey, time flies.
It goes fast.
Okay. Any last minute questions, thoughts? Severian, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll just give my general thoughts. I'm really enjoying this so far. There's a lot of, I can tell there's a lot of background going on, a lot of things we don't know about. And I'm interested to see what happens and whether or not I can fool the prince into, believing my seance. Okay. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm excited to play the next session.
Awesome. Yeah. There's definitely lots of twists and turns in this, and let's just say, on my way to and from England, I was reading the whole backstory stuff, and it was just so much to digest at once. But it's great because it ties the historical with the supernatural and makes it like a little historical fiction. So I love it. What about you, Preacher?
So Ulrich is Ulrich as a character, he's interested in what's going on because, again, he's a student of the occult. He, was raised by Presbyterian missionaries. He understands that there is a supernatural and a natural, but to what extent, he's been kind of secretly studying to himself. So he doesn't realize yet if this is a natural issue or a supernatural issue, but he's willing to abide his friend Rupert in trying to figure out what's going on, even though he knows that Rupert is kind of more or less a showsman. He doesn't understand quite exactly to the extent that he knows, but he's willing to help him until he knows otherwise. But as preacher, this is fun. We've had a good time, and I think the backstory and the lore that you've given already actually seems like a really cool story, and I can't wait to figure out what it all means or like where it all goes. So I'm definitely interested in playing the next session, and can't wait for whatever plot turns and twists that kind of come our way.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm excited about this. When I read the synopsis for the stories, I was sold on it right away. I purchased it right away. I was like, I'm doing this. Like, we're going to do this. And so I'm really happy that you all are enjoying it so far. It's like a huge puzzle. There's a lot of pieces. It's like one of them like 5,000 piece puzzles that, just take you forever, and you're racking your brain on which piece goes where. But hopefully this first scenario will get you guys kind of clued in on what's really going on in the city of Berlin. And we look forward to having Kita join us later on as well. She helped us with the stream, so you all said you liked the stream, so thank you so much, and thank Kita as well for helping me put together the stream and the way it looks, the aesthetics of it, going with that silent noir 1920s type film aspect of it. And thank you to everybody else for all your other help, your feedback, and everything. That's always appreciated. And thank you to Chaosium for another awesome scenario that we get to play, and we're going to continue to enjoy playing in the near future. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. I know I've kind of stumbled over my words a little bit tonight. I got lost. I really need 2 monitors is the thing. So, because I can't keep everything up, and when I click on one, my sheet goes somewhere completely different, and I'm like, oh no, what page was I on? So stay tuned. We're gonna try and do this bi-weekly, so the next one should be in a couple weeks. We're gonna kind of switch between this and possibly the old school RPGs. Is that correct? We're gonna try and continue that on Saturdays, or are we switching that up?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Or we'll just play Cthulhu every Saturday, and we'll talk about it off stream and figure out the schedule. But definitely something going on every Saturday at this point, I think.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, what games do we have going this week? I'm not 100% sure on what we have going this week.
I believe the only thing we have coming up this week, before next Saturday, would be on Tuesday, Star Trek.
Oh yeah, that's right, Star Trek. So definitely come back on Tuesday night. Join us for Star Trek. It's an awesome series. Dionysus and the crew do an awesome job with it, and everybody getting into character. Such a good story as well for that. Even if you're not into Star Trek, join us and have fun with us, and we'll be back as well. Keep an eye out on the Twitters for all that stuff, or our Discord page. But as they say in Germany, danke and good night. I don't know what they say for good night, but danke and good night.
Good night.